Quick one. Today I am bringing you the description by Fredrick Lugard of the tribes he merged together. How Fredrick Lugard, the man who created Nigeria, the person who created Nigeria is called Fredrick Lugard. Okay, he's the one who created Nigeria in 1914, and this is what he has to say about the tribes he merged together in Nigeria. Okay, now I want to read directly from his words so I don't make mistake. Okay, now the first one, he says, the handover notes Lord Lugard wrote to his colleague, Walter H. Lang. His colleague, his successor was Walter H. Lang, on the 25th of September, 1918. Okay, Nigeria was created he created Nigeria in 1914. Then in 1918, he handed over to Walter H. Lang. Okay, although he's been ruling as governor before the creation of Nigeria. Okay, and this is how it went. The quote reads inter alia. He started with the Hausas, then the Yorubas, then the Igbos. But first, let me start with the Igbos first. Now he says, these people of this is Igbo. These people of predominantly eastern Nigeria are fiercely rebellious. Now the Igbos, Fredrick Lugard, the man who created Nigeria, said you are a rebel. He said you are a rebel. Okay, and you know what is a rebel? Okay, somebody who does not bow to suppression, who does not bow to opposition, somebody who does not bow to compare. Okay, every great man in history was once tagged a rebel. Okay, so long as you can't submit, so long as you can't be subdued, okay, you're a rebel. Okay, so he described you as a rebel. That is what Fredrick Lugard has to say about you as an Igbo. Now, he went ahead to say, fiercely rebellious with no regard for authority. He says you don't have any regard for authority. Okay, this one I will blame your traditional system, because the Igbos has a different traditional system from what the Westerners introduced. Okay, Igbos don't believe in one person who is a king or a ruler, or one person who is magnified over others and all that, and he should be worshipped and a lot of things. Igbos don't believe that. It is not part of their system from old. Okay, Igbos believe in a system whereby the elders, they have their council of elders. Okay, they adjudicate on their issues and settle their matters and all that. The people, Igbo Beze, okay, everybody in Igbo land is a king. So the system that was brought to Nigeria or brought to Igbo land contradicts what the Igbos were initially having, what they had in the past. So I think this was the greatest problem that these people had. So he said they are rebellious and had no regard for authority. I think this was actually what affected it. Okay. Now, though industrious, he acknowledged that the Igbos were industrious. Okay. They had the spirit to produce, to invent, to innovate, the brain to think out something and go for it and achieve it. Okay. So he said that though industrious and religious, he said you are Igbos are religious. Okay. Well, this one I would say it's spirituality. Okay, because they themselves, they call it religion because it's not associated to them. Okay, as Africans, we are spiritual people. Okay, but they themselves, they know what they know is religion. Okay, so that means Igbos were deeply rooted in spirituality. Okay, that is what he's saying. Indifferent to the objective of Her Majesty. That is to say, you oppose the objective of Her Majesty. That is the plans, the things Your Majesty's, the Queen of England has brought out. You oppose it. Okay, you don't always agree to the plans of the Queen of England and the crown. Okay, the throne of England. Okay, he said you're indifferent to the Queen of England and the crown. And he went ahead to say that they are highly dangerous to be trusted with. That the Igbos are highly dangerous to be trusted with. This is where the problem of the Igbos started in Nigeria. Fredrick Lugard made it open to Nigerians that you should not trust an Igbo man with power. This is where the problem of the Igbos started from. This is the point. That is why they made sure they push power to the north and the west. Okay, and they told them not to make sure that power doesn't get into the hands of an Igbo man because they cannot be trusted with power. What does he mean by this statement? This is the reason why Nnamdi Azikiwe was not able to rule Nigeria. This is the reason why they made sure he doesn't rule Nigeria. This is the reason why the Igbos has been sidelined from leadership in Nigeria. Even when they have what it takes, they are the most credible. Even when they are the most competent when it comes to everything. And from their record, they have always been at the forefront of everything. They have always been the best. If you check the record of Nigeria before the Civil War, they have always been at the top. Call it judiciary, call it whatever. The Igbos has always been at the top. Education and otherwise. So because of this single fact, because they cannot be controlled, because they cannot be oppressed, because they cannot be subdued, they cannot allow themselves to be puppets. They cannot act as stooges to the West. This is the reason why they have refused to give an Igbo man power. Because giving an Igbo man power means that there will be breakthrough, there will be development, there will be light. So this is the reason Nnamdi Azikiwe was the biggest threat the West had. A man who commanded civil servants. Civil servants have to sit in their houses while the West, the white people, have to work. He caused a lot of strikes. Not until the white people have to negotiate before civil servant could start work. Nnamdi Azikiwe was very powerful. He was the person at the forefront of Nigeria's independence. But due to the fact that the West feared him, the West saw him as a threat. The West saw him that he is a man that they cannot control. He's a rebel. He's a threat. He cannot be oppressed. He cannot be subdued. He cannot be suppressed. He cannot be a stooge. He cannot do our bid. So because of that, make sure the Igbos don't have access to power. And that is why Nigeria is suffering today. And that is why Igbo has never produced any president in Nigeria. So this is all what they said about the Igbos. I'm done with this topic. Stay tuned for another interesting topic. Thank you.